Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I'd like to start by apologizing because the Minister of Science, of Higher Education and Training, Science and Technology would have loved to be here. But as we all know, it's a busy program in Parliament at the moment. So he had agreed he would be here, but he was scared that if the program in Parliament lasts longer, he may not be here. Then the invitation was sent to the Deputy Minister, who also has engagements in Parliament, so he also sends his apologies. So I'm a real spare wheel for both of them, but I'll do the best I can. I'd like to acknowledge Professor Ali Danse, the Executive Chair of the NSTF, and his executive. Also like to acknowledge the Vice President Operations of South 32, Calvin Mkabela, who has been here. Professor Mamuketi Pakeng, Vice Chancellor of UCT. I think I've also seen the Vice Chancellor of the University of Pretoria as well. There may be other Vice Chancellors, Deputy Vice Chancellors. Dr. Kolani Mkhwana, the Chancellor of the Valley University of Technology. Science Council's head, and I was told that Dr. Kobela is here, who is representing all the heads of this research council. Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, Mr. Hussein Karjieka, CEO of Mail and Guardian, extremely grateful you're here, distinguished guests, Yancy and the team, ladies and gentlemen. So I'd like to start having apologized for the Minister by thanking the leadership of the National Science and Technology Forum for inviting us in this important event. But before I say a few words about science and technology, I just want to remind you that if you listened to the State of the Nation address the other night, you will know that the government has big dreams for our country, ranging from economic transformation and job creation to spatial integration, and from reliable and quality basic services to a better Africa and a better world. The President said, I quote, "We want a South Africa with a high-tech economy where advances in e-health, robotics, and remote medicine are applied. We want a South Africa that doesn't simply export its raw materials, but has become a manufacturing hub for key components used in electronics, in automobiles, and in computers. We must be a country that can feed itself and that harnesses the latest advances in smart agriculture. And I dream of a South Africa where the first entirely new city built in the democratic era rises with skyscrapers, schools, universities, hospitals, and factories," close quote. The Department of Science and Technology and the organizers of the National Science and Technology Forum Awards know that harnessing science, technology, and innovation, and people like the award finalists and winners tonight can make these dreams come true. I do like to divert a little bit from science and technology and share a story with you. And it's a story of a person that most of you perhaps are familiar with, but you may not know the story. So the story of our time that aptly demonstrates the importance of having a dream, harnessing and ultimately realizing it, is the story of Walt Disney. Today, the world recognizes Walt Disney as the leading producer of children's movies. But how did it all start? This legendary American entrepreneur, animator, voice actor, and film producer, Walter Elias Disney, began developing his skills as a cartoonist as a young boy. Stuck on a farm in Missouri, he didn't have many subjects, but delighted in drawing cartoon pictures of his neighbors' horses. He dropped out of high school at the age of 16 in the hope of joining the army, but he was rejected because he was underage. Most people don't know this, that after forging the date of birth on his birth certificate, He joined the Red Cross in September 1918 as an ambulance driver. He was shipped to France, but only arrived in November after the armistice. He drew cartoons on the side of the ambulance for decoration and had some of his work published in the army newspapers, Stars and Stripes. He then enrolled at McKinley High School and became the cartoonist for the school newspaper, drawing patriotic pictures about the First World War. At the same time, he took night courses at the Chicago Academy of the Fine Arts. Disney returned to Kansas City in 1919, where he worked as an apprentice artist at the Pesman Rubin Commercial Art Studio. There he drew commercial illustrations for advertising, theater, programs, and catalogs. Disney dreamed of a much bigger things, and then Kansas City could not offer the dreams that he had. So in 1928, he left for Hollywood, Los Angeles, together with his brother. While on the train to Los Angeles, a gentleman sharing the carriage with him asked him where he was going. His reply was, "I am going to Hollywood to make great movies." Even though he was received with skepticism in Hollywood, Disney was able to prove his critics wrong, introducing several key innovations in the production of cartoons. For instance, Disney was hell-bent on creating a feature-length animated film of Snow White. While many in Hollywood referred to the project as a Disney folly, Disney had the last laugh, because Snow White earned more than $8 million US dollars during its original release, which translates to 130 million US dollars today. As a film producer, we're all aware that he has the record of most Academy Awards earned by an individual, having won 22 Oscars from 59 nominations. He was presented with 2 Golden Globe Special Achievement Awards and an Emmy Award, among other honors. Several of his films are included in the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress. So why am I telling you this story in this detail? This is what it took to create the global and legendary Walt Disney Empire. All of this started with a dream and the courage to pursue it, no matter what others said. So just as in the Walt Disney story, nothing stops the custodian of the South Africa's science system from being ambitious and dream big. In our context, our big dream is articulated in the National Development Plan, which foresees a virtuous cycle of growth and development for our country. The National Development Plan identifies a number of priorities that relate to our mandate as a sector and recognizes that the contribution of science, technology, and innovation to South Africa's development will grow over time. Firstly, in the period 2012 to 2017, according to the NDP, we need to continue building the national system of innovation. For instance, through improving PhD productivity of the system, increase investment in research, and taking up opportunities linked to existing industries and improving the efficiency of the science institutions. The second phase, which is 2018 to 23, the focus should be on strengthening the foundations of the previous innovations across the state, of strengthening the foundations of pervasive innovations across the state, business, and social sectors. And then finally, as 2030 approaches, there should be more intensive improvements in the productivity of the economy on the basis of innovation and better utilization of the country's comparative advantage. For example, the geographic advantage that you've had, as well as the competitive advantage in areas of ensuring that we develop knowledge and technological advances in an integrated continent. It is also important for us to understand that the bold targets in the NDP are a direct result of the confidence that the architects of the NDP have in us as custodians of the science sector. So the question for you from me as I was going through this is, do we realize as a sector the confidence that others have in our capabilities? And do we share in this confidence that others have in us? In pursuance of the big dream as articulated in the NDP, as you all know, we developed the new white paper on science, technology, and innovation, which was recently adopted by Cabinet. Keeping on the theme of ambition and excellence, I think we can all agree that the new white paper sets out again another ambitious vision for the national system of innovation and its stakeholders. South Africa has excellent researchers and institutions to help us meet the future. And we are working to expand these resources to help address South Africa's most pressing needs. For instance, how do we use knowledge to increase the effectiveness of government decision-making and service delivery? Those who have heard me in the department reflecting on this is that I have no reason to go to the traffic department and queue from 4 a.m. For renewing my driver's license in this day and age. And being told at 11, after being there at 4 in the morning, that the system is down. You would agree with me that South Africa at the present time simply does not, of course, have the fiscal resources to fund everything. So we do need to focus and set aside an appropriate portion of our research funding for priority areas and to improve the scientific output from our universities. But that is only one side of the argument, of course. Let me immediately add that it would be unwise to reduce knowledge to its narrow utilitarian value only. A robust and diverse science system has immense value in and of itself, and for developing the broader human capabilities of South Africans, expanding the horizons and opportunities of our young people, and building South Africa's stature as a scientific leader in certain field of study. As we were finalizing this science and technology white paper, there's been a concern that this new white paper is favoring innovation at the expense of basic science and fundamental research. We don't believe that that is the case or will be the case. So rest assured that we remain committed to supporting fundamental research as evidenced by the intention set out in the white paper of conducting regular surveys to monitor the health of particular science disciplines. We have invested heavily, of course, in programs that address basic and fundamental science and will continue to do so. To illustrate this, I just want to pick two examples which most of you are familiar with, that in 2007 and 2008, we developed a 10-year innovation plan, and most stakeholders felt that we were going to move away from basic and fundamental science. But we did invest in the square kilometer array, which is not only about building the world's most sensitive radio telescope, but also about answering some of the most fundamental questions of the physics that Einstein had predicted many, many years ago. You would also be proud to know that South African scientists and engineers were the ones that were involved in the construction of over 70% of the SKA precursor, the Meerkat 64-dish telescope. And this project has, of course, attracted direct investment of more than 300 million in the Northern Cape alone. This investment took the form of construction and engineering work, the development of big data capabilities, strengthening of the university research programs, developing technical skills, creation of opportunities for small, medium enterprises and industry, community upliftment, and investment in youth. To demonstrate again the confidence that others have shown in our scientific capabilities, the Meerkat telescope had already received a request before it was built and finalized from our international partners for an allocation of more than 5,000 hours of observation time on the instrument. So again, I'm reminding you that our global partners would not be queuing up to use the meerkat if they didn't have the confidence in our capabilities. So again, the second question to you is, do we realize that we have this capability, and do we have the same level of confidence in ourselves that others are showing in us? Another example that I'd like to quote is the work done by South African scientists in the high energy particle physics area at the European Organization for Nuclear Physics, popularly known as CERN. Since the launch of the collaborative program in 2008, South Africa has established a very strong footprint at CERN and made a significant contribution to the discovery of the Higgs boson particle in 2012. The collaboration that we have at CERN is particularly useful in enhancing our capacities in areas such as signal processing, high-throughput electronics, bioinformatics, and the processing of data. It has also, of course, helped us to address a number of challenges that we have in the science system, the supervisory skills, and then also give our young graduates the opportunity to work shoulder to shoulder with their colleagues abroad. South Africa's participation, of course, in CERN is yet another demonstration of the value of the fundamental sciences, not only to the advancement of human knowledge, but also the transformation of the socio-economic realities of marginalized group and society. We'd also like to say that the capabilities that were realized by others led to the establishment of a high-throughput electronics laboratory at the Witwatersrand University, which will make it possible to develop a common platform for research and development of high-throughput electronics in one of the detectors of the Large Hadron Collider. So we are very, very grateful that others see this value in our scientists, but also I just use these two examples to demonstrate that indeed others see huge collaborations and huge partnership to the science community. So these collaborations that our global partners have sought through the SKA, the CERN collaboration, and the achievements at the Itemba Labs represent a clear vote of confidence on our capabilities in a number of scientific fields, prompting us to ask one more time, for the third time, do we recognize our own capabilities, and do we have the same level of confidence in ourselves as the others have? And all I can say in answering these questions, please remember the Walt Disney story. So in conclusion, our work is geared not only towards enhancing our capabilities in specific areas of scientific endeavor, but is also guided by the need to effect the necessary socio-economic transformation in our country. We cannot have this excellent science that we have talked about and not being able to transform the country that we live in. It is for these reasons that we are doing significant work in developing our other scientific capabilities and requisite human capital for the challenges and opportunities for the fourth industrial revolution. Given all of this, it is therefore vital that we have confidence in our capabilities. I hope I have demonstrated this to you, to produce highly credible scientific solutions for our country, but also solutions that can find applications in other parts of the world, and I believe we can do this. All the achievements I've mentioned were made possible by the fact that we have a significant number of highly gifted scientists and technologists in our country who are doing sterling work in several globally recognized platforms. These achievements and many more like them were also possible because the scientists who undertook this work were imbued with an unshakable sense of self-belief. Unless we are bold, unless we believe in ourselves, we can forget about becoming globally competitive or taking the lead in any field. This is particularly important to understand given how the technological advancements are rapidly altering our world. and we believe that we're going to be part of that world. So we wish to applaud the National Science Technology Forum for continuing to provide a platform to showcase the breathtaking work that South African scientists are doing in helping to articulate and magnify the work of various stakeholder groupings within the NSI. A platform such as this is invaluable, and that's why we continue to support it. I am concluding, Program Director, but as I really wrap up, I do want to remind you that we are now in a new ministry of higher education, training, science, and technology. But people are saying, what does this mean? We remain as a Department of Science, not of Technology, of Science and Innovation under that ministry. So just to give you a sense of comfort that we'll continue the work that we've been doing. So in conclusion, I wish to leave you with the words of the thought leader, Roy T. Bennett, who said, open quote, "Don't let the limitation of others limit your vision. If you can remove your self-doubt and believe in yourself, you can achieve what you never thought is possible," close quote.